head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn, no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Welcome everyone to My Experience with the Phenomena, where we have viewers like yourself come in and talk about your experience with the phenomena. Tonight is going to be an awesome show. We have experiencer Brown Dwarf, who will be joining us shortly, and we'll be talking about UFOs over Los Angeles, UFOs in California in general. As you know, California is a hot spot, and we will be going into a lot of information. So you make sure you're going to want to stay tuned to the show tonight. Let's go ahead and get up our graphics here and then see who came in here tonight. We got T-Bone stepping in saying, hey, Mr. Rob G, and hello, Brown Dwarf. Hey, T-Bone, thanks for coming in. We got Area 51. Yo. We got Magneticus Attractor saying, what's up? We got JSCO 77 for sure in the building. We have Flat 6 joining us tonight. Hey, Flat 6, how you doing? Let's see. Who else do we have here? Looks like that's it for now. They'll be trickling in as we go. We got some lurkers out there. Lurkers, hello. Welcome to the show. We do appreciate you showing on up here tonight as we go ahead and get ready to get into it. So this series has been an awesome series because we get to speak and hear directly from experiencers, right? And there's so many different parts of the phenomena that are intriguing. And you know how I feel about it. I love talking about it, hearing about it. And it's like an onion. You peel back layer by layer by layer, and you see all the different aspects of the phenomena. And I think the goal is once we put this show all the way together, you're going to have a catalog of awesome experiences from all walks of life, all parts of the globe, showing that this is a global phenomenon. And I'm just so excited to get into the show tonight. Happy Friday, by the way, to everyone out there. So glad that you guys came in and showed up here. Latchkey Hustle, thanks for coming on in saying, hey, my people. Hey, Latchkey, thanks for showing up here tonight. It's going to be an awesome show. Like I said, we got experiencer Brown Dwarf, and we got a lot of information we're going to be going over tonight. So let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. Want to tell your experience? You can go ahead and call and email booksocialshow@gmail.com, or you can call the viewer call-in message line, which is 856-843-3444, or that's 856 the DIGG. And it was pointed out to me that not everyone is in the United States, right? So if you're calling the number from outside of the United States, then what we're looking at is 001 before you dial the number 001-856-843-3444, or that 011-856 the DIGG. And let me go ahead and shut off some of these devices that are making noise during the show. So I should have done this prior, but I'm doing it now. All right, here we go. Okay, so getting further into the show here, we have memberships available. Become a social soldier today to help support the show, help make this the best possible quality content, the most amazing content out there. We're striving to do that right now on the ground level. So I hope it's coming across that way as we elevate and raise the bar for this show. We'll continue to do so, period. But we would love support here. It obviously goes a long way to make sure we can pay subscription fees and all those sorts of things that it takes to put these shows on. Also, you can, and actually, let me shout out our members real quick. We have memberships available. We have Maggie M10 as a member, the Beekeeper, D Nunley, T-Bone, and Joanne, Tomothman, Richard Wilson, Love V Love, Dogface, Woo Riders, DG, Pancho Zork, Deb from Sacramento. So I want to take a moment to give everybody on the list a round of applause. Your love and support is appreciated. We do really appreciate that as well. An awesome, amazing thing just happened here in the chat. We got T-Bone gifting 5 social dig subs memberships. Man, round of applause for T-Bone. Thank you very much, T-Bone, for doing that. I know there's others out there that are going to appreciate being gifted those memberships. That is totally awesome, man. I do appreciate you, T-Bone, forever and always. And Scott Rosen, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you carrying in the Woo train as well. Thanks for coming on in. Just awesome stuff. And that's why I love getting with my people here, because it's an awesome feeling when we get together, when we have the opportunity to do so. So let's go ahead and move into the social shop. The social shop online right now. We have the hoodies. We got all sorts of social gig swag that you could go ahead and jump into. The winter's coming up. These would be nice gifts to put under the tree for somebody. It actually looks really good as well. Like you can go out and sport it, and it fits in with everyone else, right? So it looks really good. We got some closer images of those hoodies in black. I like the black one. I like the red one too. There's various colors that we have available. And you have my experience with the phenomenon on the front and the social dig logo on the back. That's what I'm talking about as we continue on to the show. It's going to be an awesome one. And let me see, who else do we have here? Okay, looks like we got everybody. All right, UFO sightings over Los Angeles. So let's talk about it, because California, as you may know, I'm sure most of you know, is a UFO hotspot, has been a UFO hotspot for a very, very long time. Going all the way back to some of the things that we're going to cover tonight, just like the Battle of Los Angeles, actually, which I believe is the first thing we're getting into. So we're going to go ahead and start there. Let's talk about the Battle of Los Angeles, because this one to me is almost like, as far as is the depth to it and the realistic nature of this sighting is similar to Roswell. It's like right up there in that same category for me with Roswell. This was in the papers. This happened right around, it was World War II. We're going to go ahead and get into the specifics of that. So let's go ahead and kick back and get ready to enjoy this presentation here. So UFO sightings over Los Angeles, specifically in this case here, the Battle of Los Angeles. By early 1942, the United States had entered World War II following Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. The Pacific coast, especially California, became a prime focus for defensive operations. The U.S. government and military believed that Japan might try to launch a direct attack on the mainland or a series of smaller disruptive strikes. Civil defense measures were put in place, and military units were on high alert to defend key urban centers like Los Angeles from perceived threats. The backdrop of heightened wartime tensions played a critical role in shaping how the events of February 24th and 25th unfolded. The day prior, a Japanese submarine had surfaced off the coast near Santa Barbara and shelled an oil refinery, causing minor damage but major psychological impact. This incident increased anxiety in California and set the stage for what was to come. On the night of February 24th, 1942, air raid sirens wailed across Los Angeles, alerting residents and military personnel that something was approaching from the Pacific. Military radar operators reported detecting an unidentified aircraft around 120 miles from the coast. Shortly after 2 a.m., anti aircraft batteries began firing into the sky. For the next several hours, spotlights crisscrossed the sky, tracking what was to be believed to be an enemy air raid. Explosions filled the air as over 1,400 anti aircraft shells were fired, lighting up the night sky in a terrifying display. However, despite the volume of fire and intensity of the searchlights, no aircraft were downed. In fact, nothing was conclusively hit and no bombs were dropped on the city. The barrage created chaos as the lights and explosions gave the impression that the city was under an active aerial attack. Several people died due to the accidents related to this panic, but no significant damage to property or infrastructure was recorded. The U.S. military offered various explanations for the event in the following days. Initially, it was speculated that enemy aircraft were involved, but as more details emerged, officials from the U.S. Army's Western Defense Command suggested that weather balloons or atmospheric anomalies might have triggered the false alarm. Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox famously held a press conference after the event, dismissing the idea of an actual enemy attack and attributing the incident to, quote, war nerves. Later reports from the military concluded that there may have been nothing in the sky at all. No planes, no ships, no bombs. The official stance became that the combination of anxiety, nervousness, and miscommunication had led to an overreaction by the city's defenses. The fear of a second Pearl Harbor had primed everyone to react with extreme caution and aggression, leading to an incident that was fueled more by fear than actual danger. In the years following the Battle of Los Angeles, the incident took on a new life as part of UFO lore. Some conspiracy theorists and UFO enthusiasts suggested that the object seen by radar operators and targeted by anti-aircraft batteries that night might have been a craft of extraterrestrial origin. This theory is rooted in the ideas that the military had seen something unusual, something so advanced that they couldn't bring it down despite hours of sustained firepower. Photographs from the night, particularly one famous image published in the Los Angeles Times, which we have right up here on the screen right now, shows searchlights focused on a mysterious object in the sky with anti-aircraft shells exploding around it. This image has been widely circulated and is often used to support the idea of a UFO being present. However, many experts argue that the photograph was heavily altered in post-production, a common practice at the time to increase clarity in newspaper images, and that the, quote, object is nothing more than an optical illusion created by converging searchlights. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that right there, and definitely want to take a moment out and say, hey, Flat 6, new number, thank you. All right. So if you look at that in the image here, there's obviously something that it's focusing on. And even if this was in post, this is my thing. What were the searchlights all pointing at? They all zeroed in on an object in real time, in real life. So regardless on if anybody did anything to the picture, the searchlights saw an object, and those searchlights are obviously coming from different vantage points, and they are all zeroing in on one particular space. So you would have to assume that there was definitely something there as depicted in the picture there. That's why this is one of the most compelling UFO sightings, almost proof, basically, if you go by what you see on the image here. And, being here in California all my life, I never really knew that until obviously I got into ufology, that California was so active when it came to UFOs. Now, this isn't it, right? Because we're talking about Los Angeles, Southern California, really California in general. But if we're focusing on Southern California, then we have, a super deep history with UFO sightings. And we're going to get into some more of that here because right off the coast of Los Angeles, off the coast of California, and technically the coast of Los Angeles, the metropolitan area, there is an island called Catalina Island, right? This island was depicted in Terror in the Sky. We all saw it. We all saw Terror in the Sky. So I'm going to go ahead and get into some of the other areas that UFOs have been sighted because there's actually a deep history going back over about 100 years at least, where there were talkings of airships and things of that nature. We're jumping right into that right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the early years, mystery airships of the 1890s. The fascination with unidentified objects in the sky predates the modern UFO phenomenon. In the late 19th century, reports of so-called, quote, mystery airships began to surface across the United States, and Southern California was no exception. In 1896 and 1897, residents in and around Los Angeles reported seeing strange, illuminated craft in the sky, described as cigar-shaped or resembling an early form of dirigible. These sightings came before the invention of the airplane, adding to their mystery. While many dismissed them as hoaxes or misidentified balloons, they set a precedent for future UFO reports in the region. During the Cold War, UFO sightings became increasingly common across the United States, and Southern California saw a wave of high-profile incidents during the 1950s and 60s. Catalina Island, located off the coast of Los Angeles, was the site of numerous sightings, with witnesses reporting strange lights and craft moving rapidly over the ocean and even submerging underwater, leading some to speculate about USOs, which are unidentified submersible objects. The idea that UFOs may have some connection to the ocean is a recurring theme in Southern California reports, given the region's proximity to the Pacific. Another significant site is Edwards Air Force Base, which I'm not too far from here in Bakersfield, about, say, 50 miles away, roughly. Is located in the Mojave Desert. Edwards has been the focus of UFO investigation since the 1950s, with some of the most credible reports coming from military personnel. In 1957, several airmen and pilots reported seeing a craft hovering above the base, sparking an official investigation. Though the military's response was to classify the sightings as unidentified, the case drew significant attention from the UFO research community and bolstered the belief that the U.S. government was and is covering up its knowledge of extraterrestrial visitors. Southern California was also at the heart of the contactee movement, which peaked in the 1950s and 1960s. The movement was centered around individuals who claimed to have direct contact with extraterrestrial beings. One of the most famous contactees was George Adamski, who lived in the area and claimed to have met with aliens from Venus. His books and lectures attracted a large following, helping to establish Southern California as a hub for UFO believers and spiritual seekers alike. During the 1970s and 80s, reports of close encounters intensified. The region's remote desert areas, such as those around Palmdale and the Mojave Desert, became associated with sightings of strange lights and even abduction experiences. These incidents often shared common elements such as missing time and descriptions of humanoid beings, leading some to speculate that Southern California's desert were home to secret alien bases. Beyond the sightings themselves, Southern California's UFO history is deeply intertwined with the region's culture. The area has long been a center for alternative spiritual movements, and many UFO believers in the region integrate extraterrestrial phenomena into broader metaphysical or New Age beliefs. The contactee movement, as well as groups like the Ashtar Command, which claims to receive messages from space beings, reflect this blending of UFO phenomena with spiritual teachings. Hollywood, too, has played a major role in shaping the public's perception of UFOs. Many iconic films, from Close Encounters to the Third Kind to Independence Day, were either filmed in Southern California or set in the region. This intersection of entertainment and UFO culture has helped make Southern California synonymous with both extraterrestrial intrigue and the wider world of speculative fiction. So, with that being said, Southern California, deeply rooted within UFOs, the UFO lore. Like I said, movies have been based out of Southern California and filmed here. Pretty much most films that you know have been filmed here, right? So we'll just say that. But looking at that, I had no clue that this went back to the 1800s here in California. That's pretty amazing to know. But I'm not surprised, because if you recall my sighting, and I'm not going to get into my sighting on this episode because it's on episode 1. So if you go back to the first episode of my experience with the phenomena, you will see the detailing of my personal experience with the phenomenon. So make sure you go back in our archives and check that one out. It's a good one. It's the first episode we did of this show. But Catalina Island, the objects I saw, 47 objects in the sky at one time, clear blue sky. I'm about 140 miles from Catalina Island, and these were the same objects that were depicted for me. It would appear as you saw in Tear in the Sky. If you watch Tear in the Sky, I don't want to spoil this for anyone, but they found a tear in the sky, and it had objects in it, and this is kind of what they looked like. See all those little spots there clustered up, and they in the film. I mean, it's been out long enough, so we'll talk about it. They came to theory that what you were seeing there in that dark area that circled is maybe a portal, and maybe this is where they go in and out. And if you remember Kevin Day, who I interviewed on Spaced Out Radio After Hours, he believed that they were coming in from around that area, going down south past Catalina Island and Guadalupe Island, right? So this is a closer image of what we're looking at there, more zoomed in, and you can see all those individual dots there. Those, to me, when I saw this film, reminded me a lot of my sighting, because I fit in Mexico as well, which I came to know this term from David Altman, who was also in this film, that they call them flotillas. They've been seen in Mexico by the hundreds, floating through the sky by the hundreds. And I believe they're the same objects we see here, which are the same objects from my sighting. So, maybe California going down south, just period, South America is a natural hotspot for these UFOs for whatever reason. We don't know. Maybe because of this portal, but we're going to kind of get into it. Catalina Island, this is one of the first recorded incidents in Catalina Island. This is from the 1960s, where I'm sure you've seen this video of this UFO literally floating across the peaks of the mountains on Catalina Island. Iconic UFO video here, and just one of the early examples and evidence that Southern California, or this area alone, is a UFO hotspot. So not only that, but I came across this, which is 2016 UFO from Catalina Island, somebody captured, and as well as this. Now, I'll tell you, if you've ever been to Catalina Island, you're familiar with this whole setup and what this view is. This view is obviously from land. This is the port that you pull into. Right where this black box is, roughly, is where your cruise ships will park, and then you boat from there over to that dock that you see over on the right there, that land strip. That land strip is where the boats go when they bring you onto the island. So I'm very familiar with the orientation of this view, and I'm going to show you some things here that will kind of get into this. So this was a light, an object that they're calling a UFO, that kind of came up from the ground, went up to this point, and then starts to travel over to the left of the shot here. Now, if you keep an eye on the clock here, it's 6:01, and I'm going to have a video to kind of back this one up as well that'll show you this in real time. But 6:01 is essentially when this thing started. So we go to the next slide, 6:05. So as you see in the upper left, that original light moved over to the left. So it moved, it went straight up from the ground, rose up, and then shot over to the left. Now, as you see that one there, you see another light, a second light, essentially in the same spot that the first one was in, and that's about 6:05. Okay. So next one here, we get out of frame. The one that was the original one is now out of frame, and the second one is left. It's still there. You see it shining off the water there, and it's doing the same exact pattern. It's going up, and then it is at 6:10 p.m., and then by 6:13, it's traveling in that same direction off to the left. So a lot of people are going to say, yeah, man, maybe planes, maybe this is a flight path. So we looked into that, and the flight path, I don't think that it is. And we'll kind of see why. Let me go ahead and show you the video first. Let me actually show you the video first, and we'll kind of go from there. All right. So, yeah, when you look at that, so first, if you're taking an open-minded, a skeptical, outlook on this video that was online, this isn't my video, so I can't vouch for it. But what I can tell you is I can tell you that I've been on this island, and I can tell you what the orientation of this shot is, what direction it's looking. That way back 40 miles out, essentially, from where this camera is pointing, 40 miles straight out, you're going to get to the coast of California. So I'm going to show you a map here. This shows the airports in that area. This dot here, the one that says Avalon, California at the bottom, that's the port that you're looking out of at Catalina Island. Now that shot is looking to the east-southeast, I would say. East-southeast. So you're looking towards Dana Point, essentially, and I kind of outlined it here, right? But I wanted to show you as well what the flight paths look like. So this is the LAX flight path of incoming flights, and this is kind of what they look like. So up close, Catalina Island, obviously right there to your left. The arrow is pointing essentially the direction that object is in, and that goes to right around Dana Point. If it's coming based from land, there are no airports there. So you can take planes off that list. You see the flight line, and I'll go back a stage here so you can see it a little better. The flight lines coming in for arrival on LAX, from the south, you're coming up the coastline like that, and all those yellow lines represent the incoming flight path to LAX. So it wasn't on a flight path. It wasn't, going in the same direction as you would approaching LAX on a flight plan. You had more than one object, and we've seen these UAPs mimic each other and do exactly the same thing. So yes, flight lines, you have planes coming in on the same trajectory. So if you were to stand there and watch planes all night, you would see essentially they come in on the same flight lines and, mimic each other as well. However, these didn't come in on a flight path, on a flight line. So as far as these flight paths go, what you saw in that video doesn't line up with that. So what I'll do is, now that you've seen what the flight line is, I'll go ahead and run the video again so you can get an idea. But this arrow is pretty accurate as far as the direction that camera is facing. And if you look in the Dana Point area, right behind there, this is all mountainous region. This is mountainous area and mountainous coastal lines. So keep that in mind as you go ahead and watch this again. All right, so that's the evidence. You can take that, you can do further research on that, and let me know what you find or what you discover on that. Once again, I can vouch for my videos, but I can't vouch for anyone else's. Being that I've been to Catalina Island multiple times, I can tell you for sure the direction that camera is facing, and if you cross it with the flight lines, it just doesn't make sense. Now, if you have other explanations, definitely let us know. Leave them in the comments, or you can leave them in the chat here. But now what we're going to do, because we've laid out the fact and showed evidence that California, for whatever reason, is a UFO hotspot. And our next experiencer here that we're going to bring up right now has captured a lot of these other anomalous things that happen in the sky daily out here. Truthfully, daily. There's daily occurrences here. And I know this experiencer gets involved with CE5 as well. So we're going to go ahead and bring on our experiencer tonight, none other than Mr. Brown Dwarf. Hey, Brown Dwarf, how you doing?
Rob G, good evening. Salute, brother. Greetings to everyone in chat. I see Latchkey. I see you, brother. I see a lot of familiar faces there. Good to see everyone in there, and good to see the support. Good to see the new format and the new series as well, Rob G. I had to do a last minute troubleshoot setup here. I'm in my truck now and kind of using the little dash cam clip to hold up the phone. I was in the restroom in the shop, but it's Friday, LA. There's sound systems bumping. There's a in-store going on in the shop. A lot of movement and activity. So it's live here, and actually even in the skies as well. Had a couple little sightings earlier that were pretty interesting, and I'm loving the topic of California, Southern California UFOs and possibly ETs and more anomalies. Man, it's I'm excited.
And I'm excited to hear from you because, like I said before, you capture things all the time. Brown Dwarf has an awesome channel that you guys have to go subscribe to. It's youtube.com/at Brown Dwarf.
I think it might be, but I don't know if the handle might be Brown or Brown Dwarf 4200, and then
Yes.
if you punch in Brown_Dwarf, hopefully the channel pops up. And yeah, I was today in the community page. I see that certain channels have a QR code now, so that makes it a lot easier for sharing. I went ahead and reposted the QR code into my community page just so other channels could tap in easier with me. And then it's an easier way for, if you have a channel, to share your channel out. So you could, download it to your phone, keep it on your phone, and then you could share it from there too. So it's a cool little option there now. And I appreciate the support and the kind words there, Rob. I'm slowly and surely working on the channel. I'm trying to. There's certain formulas I believe that help out channels, and I'm working on mine. There's a lot more I could do with it, but for the moment, it's a lot of just like raw footage, using the cell phone and using different gadgets we got, and yeah, it's just exciting what's happening these days right now, and the technology we have to be able to share some of this stuff is really moving forward, and it's exciting times also.
Exciting times, and you said it perfectly. Capturing raw stuff captured on the cell phone, those are receipts, and that's a tool that everyone has in their pocket. And if you take some time to look up in the sky, you may find that your area is also a hotspot. And seeing that you have all these excellent captures on your channel, then I know you have probably a billion experience stories that you could go over with us here. Why don't you go ahead and share some of those with us? Like and you can even step outside that, just other experiences as well.
Definitely. So yeah, some of the sighting experiences started when I was younger. I remember seeing some strange stuff when I was younger, and then just being into this topic, growing up in Hollywood, California. I was exposed to a lot of programming. You're talking about different films and stuff like that. There was shows, the X Files. There was other shows more on like video based shows, like Sightings was one. There was a few others that I can't think of off the bat right now, but that were good programming shows that were showing footage videos and stuff like that. And that's, we always talk about the receipts. It's a big thing, I think, especially nowadays when we have some tech. They're letting us have some of this tech. Uh, we could put it to use now. And then sometimes, it does happen where you have these experiences and you have the gadgets on you, and it just doesn't align to where you're able to capture whatever you're experiencing. So, there's always that as well. But, practice, practicing and learning more about the gadgets that I'm using, like the cell phone these days are they have a lot of options and things that I don't know about, that I'm slowly learning about and applying. And yeah, it's been a fun journey. And yeah, it's something everyone could do too. It's not this is not exclusive to, like, certain people. It's, something that I think everyone can do, and I think everyone should get involved, if you have interest in this. And yeah, it's something that I also kind of breathe and live daily, man. It's not just like a little side hobby, or you know it started off kind of like that, but now it's become almost, it's part of, everyday living. We tap in on the show's SOR, and we jump on online here and exchange experiences and information, and it's a daily thing for me. So, and not only with the UFO topic, there's several other topics that I get into. You were mentioning earlier some historic accounts out here where they mentioned the word airship, and that's very interesting because there's a particular topic that I'm into these days. They basically call it old world, and it'd be hard to explain, but if you look up some old world stuff, and then I post some of this stuff on my channel, and also other people's stuff on my community page. Um, and in this topic, they get into these airships. The airships become a topic, and and it's going back in the day also. So it's something that I guess it's not new. There's reports going from way back, and maybe, and obviously even further back. There's the ancient aliens and stuff like that. So it goes way back, and it's, I believe, something that's always been a part of us. And it's now that we have this, once again, the tech, the internet, and information flowing a lot faster. It's like it's a whole new, almost like a revival of this genre and this culture of odd stuff.
That's awesome. So let's do it like this, like because I know with so many sightings, it's really hard to pick one. But let's frame it like this. So think of, out of all the sightings that you've captured and put on your channel, think of one that was epic, and kind of take us through that day. Like you woke up, or where you were and you were
Yeah.
doing this, but that happened. Yeah, take us down that path on one of
Yeah.
those
So I
sightings.
mentioned for definitely. I mentioned a lot of it started when I was younger. It was just like sightings throughout the years, but then a lot of it picked up when I had moved to Northern California, and when I was up there, I had been into the UFO stuff and always been interested, but I wasn't really documenting stuff at the time. But moving up there, I actually got into the Sasquatch topic, which after a while led me to some information about orbs being possibly involved with these beings, and I began to dive into that topic because I was having what I felt was a Sasquatch type activity on the land that we're living on there. And then eventually, when I learned about the orbs started happening. So it's weird, like it's like you're tapping into certain information, and some of that information becomes part of your reality, and you start experiencing and witnessing some of this phenomenon and phenomena, and it's very bizarre. And so yeah, stuff started happening there, and that's when it started happening daily, and it was like happening at home. And that's when I started documenting some of these strange lights. So I started getting these orbs that people were talking about, along with strange other activity that I may pertain to Bigfoot, and that was just mind blowing there. And so I got plenty of documentation of that stuff, and that's kind of like at the beginning of my channel. So that's years back, and then moving fast forward, I mean, so much has happened then since then. I'm now currently in Los Angeles, but still have ties to up north. Um, Here in Los Angeles, my brother and I recently opened a business. It's a skate shop slash head shop, smoke shop, and we have different types of merch. And we're located here in East Los Angeles, not too far from downtown LA. And just knowing that Los Angeles, California, being a hot zone for activity in the sky, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be looking for Bigfoot in this city, but you know what? There is stuff outside of the outskirts of LA. We got the Angeles National Forest, and so I don't have to go too far for that because there is some stuff going on there with that. But yeah, knowing that LA is known for the ETs and different UFO activities and accounts historically and present, I would keep my eyes peeled in the skies, and started noticing activity around the shop. And on one particular day, I was noticing these orbs of light and different other types of objects. But there was one particular day where sometimes, there would be one or two and three here. But on this one particular day, it must have been, I counted like 15 of these orbs, and they weren't they weren't balloons. You got to question it. Sometimes these objects uh tend to have a tether on it that looked like a balloon, and those I've heard people call like anomaloon. And there's been different theories on these anomaloon type objects. But anyway, some of these anomaloons will sometimes appear the same way, but without a tether. So it'll look like a straight up just orb, a brown, white orb or silver orb. And those are very common around here. And this particular day, there must have been like 15 of them, just all in a weird position, almost kind of like if you would imagine what Starlink would look like, but this was daytime, and they weren't exactly in a line. Some of them were kind of lined up, but then some of them were a little bit off. It almost looked like if you were to imagine looking at a constellation like stars, but this is daytime, so you could tell they're white orbs, and it was just uh, there was so many of them. It was just like, whoa. And then so I'm recording, and I'm calling my brother and people out of the shop, and so there's people seeing this stuff, all witnessing it. And I think it was just a epic moment there. It was just, I hadn't never seen that many.
So,
And I
so
know you've gotten
take us through that though. So like, what did you do? Did you come out in the first one? Were you going out for a smoke, and then you
uh
saw it, or
so usually, yeah, I'll come outside for a smoke break. You see what's going on the block. There's always something happening out here, and so sometimes you get this feeling to look up a certain way or in a certain direction. It's almost like a feeling and a calling, and I kind of go by that when I'm doing other stuff too, the Bigfoot stuff as well. And a lot of the times, Rob, wherever it is, or it might be off to the side a bit, there'll be an object. And this was happening for about a couple years straight and almost on a daily basis. But as of late, it's really toned down. And so I'm wondering what's been going on. And another thing that I've noticed in this particular area where all this activity is happening is that we're having these military chopper flybys, like Black Hawks and stuff like that, and different types of ospreys. And so I don't know. It's just maybe a flight pattern to one of the local bases that are in the outskirts here, and I forget it's Vandenberg Air Force Base that might be out here. And there's several others a little further out, but so I'm wondering if it's just a flight path of theirs because there's a lot of other there's LAX traffic here, and this is pretty much they were a lot of them tend to turn is right above the shop too. Some of them fly really low, so I could see the flight patterns here of aircraft and stuff like that. And but these military choppers are said to be a quite a normal thing. There's no schedule that I've noticed, but yeah, they come around pretty low, and it just makes me wonder. And along with that, I've been recording these, and sometimes you'll get these anomalies, what look like we call fast movers or dragon UFOs. Dr. Robert Sheep, custodian file, has coined it that. But yeah, and I know Latchkey calls them fast movers, and it's these fast moving objects that look like bugs. And sometimes they got these little wings sticking out. You actually showed a picture of one. I think it might have been a Catalina one, and I was like, "Oh, that's one of those dragon fast mover ones that we get all the time here." And they tend to be like almost either following along with these crafts, or we say that like they're tagging things because it could be any object. I was recording a hawk earlier, and you get these fast movers going by, and they tend to fly by anything that's flying above a certain amount of feet in the air. So it could be, like I said, balloons or birds, just random, even like garbage or anything like that that may be up there. These things are floating by, and so we're wondering, are these like some sort of drone, or and as far as those wings, the theory is that they may be plasma jets of some sort. And so custodian file really focuses on that. But along with those fast movers, there's other anomalies in these videos, which Latchkey Hustle has been doing like great work on. He really elaborates on these other anomalies that are happening in the sky and that are not your normal like saucer type things. Some of these objects and things are very odd shaped and just very new to me. I've never seen stuff like this, but very anomalous, very strange.
Yeah, and so I want to go even deeper. I want to know like the emotion behind it. Like like how did it make you feel? Like when you have these sightings, how does it make you feel? Like are you in a certain mindset right before the sighting? Like because what I want to do is convey to maybe someone who hasn't felt, what we feel. So almost like describing the feeling that you get, because there's some people out there who've never had a sighting, who've never seen
Hmm.
anything, and they will tune into something like this to kind of feel what that experience was like. So
Right.
if you could go into like the feeling behind some of these experiences that you've had.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of time it's a feeling inside, almost like um I don't know if you've ever even experienced maybe someone hearing that you heard your name being called or something like that, and you turn around and maybe there's nothing there. It's almost like there's something alerting you. you know. And so it's almost like yeah, an inner feeling for me. And sometimes there's nothing there. There's times where you get that feeling, and you know, visually you're not seeing anything, and maybe there is something happening. But yeah, there is a particular feeling, and this feeling I also get when I'm, once again, I'll jump into the Bigfoot thing, because there's particular things that we look for out in the field, and one of them are these stick structures that people talk about and find, and are have been questioning. And I have, you know, gotten into the rhythm of finding these things, and it's almost the same thing. You know, it's like, and I do ask for, you know, some guidance. I do believe in a higher power, and and so I do think there's other things at play, you know, when all this is happening. um and so yeah, the stick structure finds, it's almost the same thing. And actually recently I was out in the forest, we're out bigfooting, and I was in a particular part of the forest, and I found some edible mushrooms, some chanterelles. And that's another thing, is like, I felt almost guided to look in this particular area, and I happened to find these mushrooms, and which is great eats. And it was just like, wow, you know. And I've done the mushroom thing before, where, you know, you go out mushroom hunting, and it's like, yeah, once you start finding them, it's almost like this feeling. And just like the UFO thing, it's like once you see one, you start seeing more, and you kind of go down this little rabbit hole. And you even got to be careful, because you could get lost mushroom hunting. You go too far down this rabbit hole. And I keep that in mind when I'm sky watching and stuff like that too. There's been moments when the orb thing was happening up in Northern California, where I was staring at these orbs so much that I felt like I was almost communicating mentally with these things. And I would hit these points where I would get almost, I want to say, I guess I could say, a little scared. It was like almost like, okay, let me stop this right here and go inside the house, like the house would protect me. Um, and take a break from this, because, you know, the 411 thing would come to mind. I'm like, all right, this orb's at a distance, but I feel like I'm kind of communicating with it, you know, just sending off good thoughts and everything. I didn't want to be scared, because sometimes I'd be alone out in these places. And yeah, the thought of being abducted would come up, and I didn't want to just focus on that, and so I would take a break from it, you know. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that happens as well, you know. But for the most part, it's been pretty positive. I mean, I haven't had any real negative experience with any of these objects, and some of these orbs have been different colors: orange ones, red ones, blue ones. Some have changed multicolors. And like I've said, there's been other types of weird objects too, different shaped ones, squares, and different, just weird things, man.
That's cool. So the feeling part is definitely, you know, I think that can resonate, and someone can take something away from that and use that on their own when they're out somewhere, knowing that if they get a feeling or feel a feeling, that there's maybe something that goes along with that. If you could talk about, like, what was what was the moment that everything changed for you as far as the phenomena goes, where you're like, whoa, okay, this is real. And talk
I
about that moment in time.
Oh yeah, I think I was very young at that point. I mean, I can't think of it wasn't like a major experience. I just always kind of knew like there was more to this reality that we're in, this matrix, you know, of whatever, the 9 to 5, the work, the just all the, you know, stuff that they got us trapped with. I just knew that there was more, even as a youth. And yeah, those feelings were validated eventually with experiences. And yeah, just knowing in the heart too, knowing that, you know, like people were pushing for disclosure and want the confirmation from them, you know. But we know it's real, you know, it's going down, you know, it's happening. And I think that's all we need to do, is know that we don't need their confirmation, we don't need their validation. just if you do believe, you have that faith and you carry that with you, and I believe the call it the universe will provide whatever answers it is that you seek. You just got to be ready to accept and be ready to document also if the event may come about.
When did you excuse me, when did you become aware California was a UFO hotspot? Like, was it
Oh,
just
just yeah, as a youth, once again, watching a lot of the shows and just knowing that a lot of films were made out here. Growing up in Hollywood, it's just you get to know a lot of the history, but there's so much more. I mean, there's some even now. I've gone to some places that have a lot of historical um the stuff behind it, and that's just Southern California, and you got the rest of the state, which is super big, and even Northern California has its known spots and events and stuff, and yeah, it's yeah, definitely something happening out here. And I know you have the whole tech, Silicon Valley and all that, and a lot of these um big corporations that may be involved with some of this stuff are based out here too, so there's a lot of that, and of course you mentioned the military, and yeah, it's just something about California. And then yeah, I don't know if we're going to get into Catalina more, but I've had some experiences there as well. As I got to go out recently, and there's a lot more going on than also UFOs and stuff in Catalina. There's the talk about of giants being there and stuff, and that's just fascinating.
yeah, and what I want to do is because yeah, I definitely want to jump into Catalina because I've been out there a couple times, so I got a couple stories, but kind of to go back real quick about the dragons, right? I want to do a show around that, and I think that could be its own experience and show. So let's set that up. But I did reach out to Dr. Robert Shipe and
Hmm.
haven't got a response back from him.
That's
Got his
weird.
phone
He's
number. I
usually,
texted him. Yeah. So if
yeah.
I know you have the connection over there, and Latchkey Hustle, I definitely would love to have come talk about this experience as well. So maybe we can run it back on a Dragon show, and maybe have
Mhm.
you and Latchkey come on together.
Yeah, I'm
Talk
totally
about that.
open. I know I've always been pushing for Latchkey to jump on. I know he's a busy man, and I don't know if he's open to doing this, but I would love to see him on, and just to hear him, and I'd be honored.
I keep hearing the name, yeah, for sure. And then those in the chat are bringing it up as well. And I would love to. I mean, I want to hear everyone's experience. So, but
Yeah, and
dragons,
and
and we want to talk about dragons, but I think we could definitely do a show right around that topic and that experience.
definitely, and yeah, so he's capturing a lot of the similar stuff I am, or vice versa, and he's actually, as the crow flies, he's not far at all. He's like. Uh, not far. I'll just say that.
Last year saying, love to join you, Mr. Roger. You
Boom,
talked me
there it
down with that.
is.
So
Wow.
we're good. We're gonna set it up. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so done deal. So getting into Catalina Island, because it was obviously the focus of Terror in the Sky, and everybody was waiting for that, and it came out, and it was pretty awesome because it validated some of the things that I was thinking, and that's the thing. Whenever you have a sighting, and you don't have anything to reference it to, you go and you look for things, you go and you search, you dig through databases, and like what I did is I went through the New Fork website because I had never seen the things that I had, and I did they weren't like discs, or they weren't like anything I'd ever heard of. And I'm like, well, I know they're not anything that we know of as far as what's from this planet, and it's from somewhere else, but what is it? And so I went and I dug online and I found some things, but then Terror in the Sky comes out, based in Catalina Island essentially, and they had the same objects. So I'm like, which I felt like were the same objects. What did you think about tear in the sky, and the fact that they may have discovered what they said was a tear in the sky. Maybe there's a portal right here, right off the coast of California.
Yeah, so the whole film, I haven't seen it. I've only cut to
Oh wow.
the little main part, and it was a trip because uh oh man, his name is slipping me, but it'll come to me. And I think you've been in, yeah, you've been in touch with them. Oh, Tim, with Tim over on SOR, who used to be on
Tim
SOR.
Senor.
Huh?
Tim Senor.
Mr. Senor, yeah, it was slipping me. Yeah, he put me on to that. And then the funny thing, Rob, is that your objects, because I'm familiar with your video, the, I got a video out of here too where I called them, I think, not birds, because they didn't look like birds, and I believe they might be the same objects that you got, and that might be on this tear in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to share that video with you, and then for you to analyze and check that out. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, no, I found that bit of that clip that I seen super interesting, and I'm gonna have to watch that whole thing. I'll make it a thing and watch it tonight.
Yeah, and it's just because what it does, truthfully, it just opens up the fact it almost answers a question of why California is such a hot spot, and namely more Southern California, because if there is this portal or whatever it was that was in the sky, a tear in the sky, it's right here off the coast of Southern California, and it is where there are a lot of things coming in and out. Now, I thought automatically after watching that, and then after seeing the video, the image we showed from the 1960s, which I'll bring back up here, which is this object, Catalina Island. So that object there, that was from the 1960s. So being with that, and then the whole tear in the sky and all the things that they show in the sky, plus the fact that I had my own sighting with so many objects, I just knew when I went to Catalina Island, I took my camera, I got ready to film, and I told my girl before we went on the cruise, I was like, I'm gonna be out there filming. She wasn't really happy about that, but I told her, I was like, I have to do it because it's like it's vacation, but then it's also a research trip as well, because this is a hot spot and known for activity. So I have to be ready just in case. And I spent nights out there on the deck of the ship where you're in the middle of the ocean and it's pitch black dark. You can't see anything. It's like space. It looks like space looking over the bow of the ship. And I was the feeling that I had was kind of like antsy and kind of nervous because you hear of the transmedium aspect of some of these UFOs going in the water. They see them going in the water right off the coast of Catalina Island. And there was one particular USO incident that I'd heard about, and I believe it was off the coast of California, where there was a fisherman out, pitch black dark, once again, on a regular size fishing boat, which is probably 20, 30 feet long type of boat, where sitting there fishing in the pitch black dark, and out of nowhere, a light just illuminates from under the boat, a super bright light that kind of envelops the whole boat from under the water. So I'm going out there on the deck at night looking for any sign of any lights that might show up underwater and that sort of thing. So I was kind of consumed by it. Even on the second trip, I'm like, okay, I didn't see any, which was amazing to me because I felt like, okay, California is such a hot spot, and I didn't see anything on the first trip. And so I went on a second trip, which was earlier this year, in same situation. I went, prepared. I had my camera gear out there on the deck at night, just looking for anything and just anything. Because at night, even if it's the smallest light, you're going to see it out there. And I just didn't see anything, which blew my mind, which shows that they show up when they want to show up. Even though it's a hot spot, they show up when they want to show up. What was your experience with Catalina Island? Did you see anything?
Yeah, so Rob G, same thing like you. I got the invite. My brother decided to put this together and take a few family members of ours, and I got the invite, and so I was excited and just knew already some of the history out in Catalina, and so yeah, like you prepared, I was like, all right, we're gonna do some sky watching along the way, and some USO watch, keeping an eye out for USO, so some sea watching, and yes, like you said, it was early morning when we took off, so it was still dark, and yeah, leaving Long Beach, California, and on along the way, I was able to capture some dolphins, which was really cool, and that's always a good sign when you see wildlife, and yeah, it was just it was a good introduction, and so we started to head out a little further into sea, and I'm not noticing anything else on in the ocean, but I'm looking up into the sky, and there's quite a bit of clouds, and there's some breaks between the clouds. And there was one particular moment where I was looking up, and I said, you know what, let me focus here. And I did for a few seconds, and all of a sudden I spot an orb, and I was able to hit the camera right away and captured a few seconds of it. And so I was able to get the receipt, and I, slowed it down, scrubbed the video, and there's definitely something there. So it was just a wow moment, and that was along the way there. And then once we got there, the family went zip lining and whatever, ice cream, and checking out the island, and I kind of just stood back for a bit, and then I went to the museum to go ask about the giants, and they said that there's nothing about giants there, and which I think is BS, and is also $18 to get into the museum, and it's an hour long thing, and nothing about giants. So I said, I'm out of here. I went over to the beach and hung out for a bit and just did a little sky watching there during the day, and I noticed some of these orbs that I seen here that I was describing earlier, and a few kind of were zipping around, and those I did miss. Didn't get the receipts on those, but it was just cool to see that, and I believe that might have been it. And on the way back from the island, we left that during the evening. I think it was just a day. Yeah, it was a day trip. We didn't get to spend the night. Um, it was dark, and there was a lot of objects. So some of them I do believe were planes, but others were very questionable. And there were these orange. It would start off like an orange looking orb, and some would get really bright, and they were just really questionable. So I wonder, and I did record those, and I did share those, so they're just kind of up in the air as far as what it might be. But there's definitely stuff going on out there, 100%. And I've heard about the skyfish of Catalina too. So when people talk skyfish, I'm not sure if they're talking about the dragons once again, or another maybe longer type of object. Uh, but yeah, they're known for the skyfish. I don't know if you've heard about that. And before I forget, I also want to mention a little further north of Catalina, and I know you mentioned Guadalupe, and I don't know if Guadalupe is part of the Channel Islands, and you got the Channel Islands, and it's a national park too. So I always keep in mind the national parks, because I do feel like maybe some of these places, yeah, they're trying to preserve maybe the land and stuff there, but I do think maybe they're hiding a lot more when they preserve these places and label them national parks. But Channel Islands also has a lot of activity, man. And Malibu, there was supposedly a base that you could see off Google Map, and I know custodian files Robert Sheep mentioned recently that I think they put a block. Google put a block on that, so you can't even check it out no more. So I don't know if that's true. So just wanted to put that out there while we're talking about the islands.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there was something, and I know Jimmy Church back in about 10 years ago sort of broke the story sort of on that and kind of had a breaking news thing about that. And the way what they described it as, or what they explained it as, is that Google gets that information from a bunch of different map services, and that's the reason why that area wasn't fully detailed. And there was some, but which could be a BS explanation. Could you know how that goes, but we know for a fact that these things are, in formation in big groups as well, and that's one of the bigger things that I want to kind of point to, because it seems like in this area, in the Southern California area more specifically, that you see these things in bunches, in fleets, like what I saw and what you saw in Terror in the Sky, and then what Kevin Day described as a bunch of these objects coming down from space down to about sea level, and then heading south towards Catalina Island and disappearing right around Guadalupe Island. And then another thing is Guadalupe Island. I think it's owned by Mexico, first of all, and I think we're unable to go there. Like, they don't allow visitors to go there. So, that pretty much creates a whole mystique as to why can't people come to Guadalupe Island? It's right next to Catalina, so I don't understand that. But I think there's military activity or things that go on that island, I think is what it is, or I don't really know, but they won't let us on that island for whatever reason.
What?
Now,
Excuse me, if I could stop you
yeah,
right there, because you mentioned Mexico. So keeping it Southern Cali, and then just a little further down, you hit the border of Mexico, and you have Baja California,
yeah,
which also is a well-known hotspot for activity, even along Ensenada, Rosarito. A lot of those places are known spots for activity. And actually, my dad's from a mountain town that's near the border, and it's called La Rumorosa. And up on La Rumorosa, apparently now it's been known as a major UFO hotspot, and they actually have conferences there. And it's a small little town. I remember going up there with my dad. I mean, my uncle has a cabin up there, and it's just, I mean, they used to have to deliver water to you up there and stuff like that. It was just a small little town. And now it's kind of booming, and the UFO and ET thing is a big thing out there now. So it's super interesting. So yeah, and Mexico is full of, I mean, we could get into, that's a whole other world there of all this strange stuff.
yeah, and we're gonna keep it concise and short, because for this type of show that we're doing today is one that we kind of keep in an envelope here. So me and you could do this all day, and we will. There's other shows that I have that we could do this on. But you're right. And what I would like to do, and we'll kind of leave it here, is kind of what I would like to do based on what you just said, is kind of look at a map and see, and I kind of did. I've done this sort of, but to see, because if we look north, when we talk about Southern California being a hot spot, we know there's activity everywhere, and we know there's activity in other places, but where there is where the activity is condensed, it seems to like start down in this, like Central California, Fresno, and then coming down and then getting into Mexico, getting into Central and Southern America, Brazil, where we know there's a bunch of other wild things that go on. So it kind of makes you think, does the activity get heavier the further south you go? And if it is there some sort of centralized sort of location where you might find that these things have kind of set up shop, which may be further down, you know what I mean? And if we listen to the stories and the reports and historical data, then that could line up. So maybe we'll look into that, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Sounds good.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So this is my experience with phenomena. So this is essentially just getting experiences. We're gonna get into other stuff. We have the social dig, which I'm gonna talk to everyone about. We also have the late night call-in show where we can further elaborate on these things. But what I want to do is thank our guest tonight, Brown Dwarf, for coming in and sharing his experience with the phenomena. Brown Dwarf, appreciate you. You obviously know we have way more work to do together, and we're going to do that. But thank you for taking on this task tonight.
I'm honored, Rob G. Anytime, brother. I would love to do this again. Yeah, we could do this all day, all night. And you know how to get a hold of me, brother. I'm right here. So anything you need that I can help you with, I'm here. 100.
Same. Vice versa. Same, man. Much love.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
you coming on in, Brown Dwarf. I'm gonna wrap up the show. You take care,
Right
man.
on. Salute you as well, man. Cheers, everyone.
Later. All right, everybody. My experience with phenomena. So that was great to get Brown Dwarf's experience. I mean, he's had so many, and that's the thing. I mean, when you have one or two, it's easy for you to pick one and say, "Hey, let's talk about this one." When you have 1,000, different experiences, then you can talk about the broader experience of them all, right? And that's kind of what I'm noticing about this space is that the more experiences that you have, they're all equal. So how do you really pick one, right? And so I think that was an awesome show tonight. Aliens and UFOs over Los Angeles, Southern California, and maybe the Southern Hemisphere when we get into it. So that's what I'm talking about. Awesome, awesome stuff. What I want to do is go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up because you guys have been fantastic coming in tonight. And I think we really moved the needle tonight like we always do. The talk that keeps you thinking right here on the social dig, and more specifically my experience with phenomena. I can't wait till we see the next person step up and talk about their experience with phenomena. I want to say we have Nikki Jacobs next week so we could hear about her experience with the phenomena. I would love to hear about your experience with the phenomena. So with that being said, I'll get you some information on how to contact me, but don't miss our other shows. We have the Social Dig, which has a totally different format. We do that on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. So you want to make sure you're there for that. Hit the notification bell. Also, the show you're at right now, My Experience with Phenomena, Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then we do the late night call-in show Saturday, 11:30 p.m. Pacific, which is right after the after hour show over at Spaced Out Radio. So if you didn't know, I host the after hours on Spaced Out Radio Saturday and Sundays, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11. So there's a lot of content going on here. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, if you're out there lurking, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, make sure you come back. And for anyone else, also, yeah, memberships are obviously available. Become a social soldier today. And I'm sure I'll have to update this list now that we have new subscribers, which is awesome. Once again, round of applause. And also the social shop where you can get the social swag is right under the YouTube page. If you go on to my page, there's a store link, or you may see merch right under the screen. Go ahead and click on that and indulge, as well as we got these hoodies. And if you want to tell your experience, this is the information to take down, screenshot it, whatever you have to do. Email booksocialshow@gmail.com, booksocialshow@gmail.com, or you can leave a message on our message line, the viewer calling message line, which is 24/7 line, 856-843-3444, or that's 856 the dig. If you're outside the United States, then it'd be 001-856-843-3444, or again 001-856 the dig. Totally awesome. Glad that we could have everybody here. We do this, as it says right here, for the positive progression of humanity, sharing the information, moving the needle forward, trying to get more towards where it is that we need to be mentally, and just consciously, as far as the position we need to be in to take that next step. That's the goal here at the Social Dig. That's what all these shows are about. So we appreciate your support, whether it's through memberships or whether it's just showing up here at the show. Both things help make this thing move forward. And like I said, I want to continue to raise the bar. I got some new things coming down the pipeline. I got some pre-recorded things that are in the works. I'm just kind of getting my editing together. So a lot more stuff to come along with the stuff that I showed you here. This is going to be the premier place to come when it comes to doing and talking about the phenomena. So let's move it. Let's hear from you next time on My Experience with the Phenomena. Definitely want to thank everybody for coming on in tonight. It has been so fantastic. I also want to thank once again T-Bone for gifting 5 memberships to people out there. Just, giving, and this is just that whole spirit, right, is what this thing is about. So once again, I do appreciate you, T-Bone. Also, thanks for becoming a member, Flat 6. We will be back doing this again. We'll be doing dragons. We'll be talking to Last Key Hustle. Last Key Hustle, get at me. Let's set this up. Let's get on with Brown Dwarf. I know you guys both are into the dragon subject. I would love to learn more about it. And Dr. Robert Shipe, I've emailed you. I've sent you a text message. I would love to speak to you personally. Reach out to your guy right here at the Social Dig, and we will make this happen. Otherwise, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you at the after hours tomorrow night. You guys all take care. Much love. Appreciate you guys. Later.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn, no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.